Clive Davis, one of the most powerful and influential figures in modern music history, has died at 94. His passing was confirmed by his longtime representative and family, and almost immediately the response from the music world began to show the size of his legacy. Because this was not just the death of a famous record executive. It was the loss of a man whose decisions helped change the careers of Bruce Springsteen, Whitney Houston, Barry Manilow, Alicia Keys, Santana, Janis Joplin, Aretha Franklin, Patti Smith, and many more. And the question now is not only who is paying tribute. The real question is why so many artists from so many different generations are describing Clive Davis as someone who changed their lives. For verified entertainment updates without the rumors, subscribe to Startline Entertainment. According to public confirmation, Davis died Monday, June 22nd, at his home in Manhattan. People reported that his longtime representative said he died peacefully from age-related illness, surrounded by family and loved ones. AP reported that his family confirmed the death and that he had recently been hospitalized for an upper respiratory issue. That detail matters because earlier in June, Davis had been discharged from a New York hospital after being admitted in late May. At the time, his representative said he was in good spirits and recovering at home. Less than 3 weeks later, the music world was responding to the news that one of its most enduring power brokers was gone. The family's public statement remembered him as a father and grandfather, but also as a music figure whose instincts and vision helped shape the soundtrack of countless lives. That phrase fits because Davis's career was not limited to one genre, one decade, or one kind of artist. His impact crossed rock, soul, pop, R&B, disco, hip-hop, and adult contemporary music. Bruce Springsteen was one of the first major names to respond. Springsteen remembered Davis as the man who signed him to Columbia Records when he was just 22. His tribute focused not only on the business decision, but on the way Davis treated him before fame arrived. That is why the message landed so strongly. Springsteen was not simply honoring an executive. He was remembering the person who believed in him before the world did. Barry Manilow's tribute came from a different kind of history. He and Davis worked together for decades, through hits, disagreements, and celebrations. Manilow described the relationship as something deeper than business. For him, Davis was part of a musical family, the kind of figure who could argue over a song and still remain central to an artist's life. Alicia Keys also paid tribute. Her connection to Davis is one of the clearest examples of his later career influence. After decades in the business, Davis helped build Jay Records, and Alicia Keys became one of the defining artists of that era. Her debut album became a major commercial and Grammy success, showing that Davis's ear for talent did not fade with time. Carlos Santana's tribute pointed to another side of Davis's legacy: revival. Davis did not only discover new artists, he knew how to reframe established artists for a new generation. Santana's 1999 album, Supernatural, became one of the great comeback stories in modern music, winning 8 Grammys and introducing Santana to younger listeners. For Santana, Davis was not just an executive who saw commercial opportunity. He was someone who could hear possibility before other people could see it. That is the through line in so many tributes. Patti Smith thanked Davis for decades of support. Dionne Warwick remembered his rare ability to recognize a hit. Rod Stewart credited him with believing in the Great American Songbook Project when other labels did not. Michael Bublé remembered him as someone who believed in artists and their dreams. When that many artists describe the same quality, it becomes more than a tribute pattern. It becomes the center of the story. Clive Davis was born in Brooklyn in 1932. He studied at New York University and Harvard Law School before entering the music business as a lawyer at Columbia Records. By 1967, he had become president of Columbia, and from there, his career turned into one of the most consequential runs in the record industry. At Columbia, Davis became associated with major signings and artist development decisions, tied to Janis Joplin, Bruce Springsteen, Billy Joel, Aerosmith, and others. He later founded Arista Records in the 1970s, where his influence expanded even further. Arista became home to artists including Barry Manilow, Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, Patti Smith, Dionne Warwick, and Santana. Whitney Houston remains one of the clearest examples of Davis' reputation. as a career architect. Davis helped introduce her to the world as a once-in-a-generation vocalist, and their professional relationship became one of the defining partnerships in pop and R&B history. Her rise helped solidify Davis's image as a music executive who could recognize not just talent, but the full shape of a star. But Davis's career was not only about finding young performers. AP noted that he also helped established artists re-enter the center of public attention. Aretha Franklin, Santana, Rod Stewart, and others found major later career chapters through Davis-backed projects. That is part of why his death has produced such a wide response. Artists are not remembering one moment. They are remembering decades of turning points. His annual pre-Grammy Gala also became part of music industry history. AP reported that the event had been held every year since 1975 and became a major institution during Grammy weekend. For decades, that gala was not just a party. It was a symbol of Davis's unusual position in the industry. Part executive, part tastemaker, part historian, and part bridge between generations. Davis's legacy also includes major honors. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame lists him as a 2000 inductee in the Ahmet Ertegun Award category, recognizing non-performers whose work shaped the music. NYU's Clive Davis Institute notes that he was also connected to the Grammy Trustees Lifetime Achievement Honor and to the founding of Jay Records, the label that helped launch Alicia Keys' breakthrough. Still, a complete public record includes complexity. Davis's career had setbacks, including his removal from Columbia in the 1970s and later legal trouble related to taxes, which AP covered in its obituary. But the larger arc is that he repeatedly returned to influence after those setbacks. He built Arista. He built Jay Records. He remained active in the industry into his later years. And even near the end of his life, his name still carried weight at the highest levels of music. That is why the tributes feel so widespread. Springsteen represents the Columbia years. Manilow represents the Arista era. Alicia Keys represents Jay Records. Santana represents both early belief and late career revival. Patti Smith, Dionne Warwick, Rod Stewart, and others represent the long list of artists who found in Davis not just a label executive, but a believer. The start line takeaway is this: Clive Davis's death is being treated as a major music industry moment because his legacy is not confined to an office title. He changed who got signed, who got a second chance, who reached a wider audience, and which voices became part of the mainstream soundtrack. What remains unclear publicly is whether more memorial plans or industry tributes will be announced in the coming days. But what is already clear is the reaction. The tributes are coming from artists whose careers span more than half a century, and they are telling the same story from different angles. Clive Davis was not a singer on the stage. He was not the face on most album covers. But behind the scenes, he helped decide which voices the world would hear next. And now, the artists he championed are using their voices to say goodbye.